We're live. Ankh and Ma'at family, Ankh and Ma'at. Join us, please. We're here for the Vernal Equinox celebration. You know that we come, the Shrine of Ma'at is here at every single equinox and solstice. I'm going to put this here. I think that works. And particularly, those of you are aware of the fact that today is quite a day, not just because we are celebrating the vernal equinox. Come closer, please, towards the altar. Not just because we're celebrating the vernal equinox, but because we're also, I'm going to say, celebrating rather than commemorating, rather than memorializing. We say we're celebrating the journey of our shrine elder, one of the most respected elders of our entire community, Baaba Heru began his journey last Thursday morning. He is now on the boat of Rod, making his journey. In our tradition, there are those that would argue that the journey is complete in about 40 days. So he's on the journey. He is on the journey, probably looking for some mango. We got some mango on the boat of Ra? We're going to get you mango, Baba. We're going to get you mango. Some alkaline water. We got you some alkaline water, Baba. Those are the things that he would probably be looking for. And I have to say that as we stand here on this day, we have to remember that there's a small group of us here, right? There are 8 of us here. But we have to also keep in mind that small groups do mighty things. That in fact, this group represents the traditions of ancient Africa manifesting in the modern day. For thousands of years, our African ancestors in the Hopi Nile Valley region would have been celebrating this day. This day that is the equinox. This day that gives us equal light and equal darkness. This day that is one of 2 days that is a divine remembrance of the as above, so below, and of the importance of restoring balance. We are the shrine of Ma'at. Ma'at, in many ways, is the tradition, the spiritual tradition of ancient Kemet. If it had a name, and it was so ubiquitous that it did not need a name, but if it had a name in those ancient days, perhaps we would call it Wat Ma'at, the way of Ma'at, the way of maintaining divine balance. And so as we stand here, remembering the traditions of our African ancestors who were then at the top of the world, African ancestors who were understood to be the most beautiful, the most educated, the most literate, the most healthy, the most balanced in gender relations, the most wise. All of those things are the things that anyone who had experienced those great civilizations in that region, from Kemet to Kush, they would have said those things about those people. When the Greeks saw those people later, this is after Kemet had already had its greatest heyday, they said that their Greek gods once a year go back to Kemet to dine with the faultless men. Can you imagine you saying that the people from another nation are faultless? They can do no wrong. That is how impressive the legacy of our African ancestors in that region. So they did not need a name for their tradition at that time. At this time, we could call it Wat Ma'at, the way of Ma'at, the way of maintaining divine balance. And so we stand here remembering the legacy of our elder, Baaba Heru, someone who for many of us we would say he was our spiritual father. Baaba Heru for me was like physical family. when my sisters heard, my sisters of blood heard that Baba Heru had made his transition, they came to check on me. They didn't come to check on me when our father died. I was like, what? What? But what was really happening is they understood that this man was that important to my life, that in some ways maybe I would be rudderless. In some ways, the weather vane was spinning in all directions. And so they said, brother, how are you? We know that your elder, your teacher, your spiritual father has made his transition. And I'm going to tell you, I felt better then than I do now. At the moment hearing about his transition, I was surprised, but I said, now at least Baba will feel no pain. Now he won't deal with the challenges of an aging physical form. And now Baba and I can have the conversations we used to have when he was literally a younger man. When I met him, he was around the age that I am. When I met him, the sort of lucid conversations that I would have with him still are with me 30 years later, 30 plus years later. I can remember some of the first conversations I had with him as he was guiding me with such love and care. And so we begin this ceremony. I've been talking for a long time. We still didn't begin. Those of you at home know we didn't begin because we ain't do something yet. What didn't we do?
Open the way.
The opening of the way. It is that great elder that we just mentioned that put this divine sacrament, ceremony, ritual into its configuration. It was Baba Heru that said, this is the way that we do things when we're doing anything important. When you're looking to draw from your ancestral power, when you're looking to draw from your universal power, this ceremony reminds you of how powerful you are. When you feel that all of the challenges of the day are too much, when you wake up and say, I don't know if I could do this today. I don't know if I could see those people at work today. I don't know if I can deal with all of those things. I don't know, is it your mortgage, your rent, challenges in relationships, all those things that when you wake up, you go, oh, boy, I don't know if I can handle it. Baba said, do the opening of the way at least once a day so you remember just how powerful you are. That's what he said to us. And we've done this thousands of times over the years. But today, at the Vernal Equinox, doing our ritual is even more important, has more resonance. So will you join me in the opening? Does someone want to lead us? I expected for him to say that. He's supposed to say that. For those of you who do not know, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Heru Jedin Ma'at Atin Ra, also known as Jabari Osaze. I'm the Hemneter and Tepi, the chief priest of the Shrine of Ma'at. And we have here one of the other leaders of the Shrine of Ma'at. We have here Hemneter Waziri. And so as one of the priests, he already knew when I said, did someone want to lead? Notice I didn't look at him, right? I didn't look at him. He knew that I was going to ask for him to lead. So please, let's get into position. And we're going...
Faces north.
Yes, we're going to face north. So join us in this direction.
You put your left foot forward, your right foot slightly back, and your left hand slightly up, and your right hand slightly back.
Can you see that? It looks like this. And you don't need to break your wrist really hard. Just do it ever so slightly, okay? Just like that. We don't see people on the walls like this. We see them like that. Okay?
And as we begin, we chant the word of life. The word of life is called Ankh. And I will begin. Take a deep breath. Netrak in Behet.
A Netrak in Behet.
Nuke in Behet.
Nuke in Behet.
A Netrak Hapi.
A Netrak Hapi.
Nuke Hapi.
Nuke Hapi.
Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn.
Turn to your right. Netrock circuit.
A Netrock circuit.
Nuke circuit.
Nuke circuit.
Kepsinu.
A Netrock Kepsinu.
Nuke Kepsinu.
Nuke Kepsinu.
Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn.
Turn to your right.
On Netrock Us.
Netrock us.
Nuke Us.
Netrock Hamset.
On Netrock Onset.
Nuke Hamset.
Nuke Onset.
Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn.
Turn to your right. Netrock neat.
On Netrock Neat.
Nuke neat.
Nuke Neat.
Netrock Tuamutep.
On Netrock Duamutep.
Nuke Tuamutep.
Nuke Duamutep.
Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn.
Turn back to your right. Shoot.
Wait, a Netrock.
Netrock shoot.
Netrock shoot. Shoot. Turn this way. Shoot. Shoot. Shoot.
Nuke.
Nuke shoot.
Netrock Tef nuke.
Netrock Tef Newt.
Tef.
Tef Newt. Now we're going the other direction. Tef Newt. Tef Newt. Tef Newt. Return to front.
Nuke. Tef.
Nuke Tef Newt.
Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn.
Netrock Paut and Tor.
A Netrock Pout in Teru.
Nuke Paut and Tor.
Nuke Pout in Teru.
Netrock and Bull and Tor.
A Netrock and Boo in Teru.
Nuke and Bull and Tor.
Nuke and Boo in Teru.
Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn.
Begin to take your breath, your deep breath, and begin the word.
Nuke and Gab. I don't know if we did Newt. A Netrock Newt. Nuke Newt. A Netrock Gab. Nuke Gab.
Yeah. Tuau and Tor.
Tuau and turn. Now we can pick up Tuau and turn. I hope that those of you at home, did the opening of the way as well. And so many of you probably are saying, what the heck were they saying? Well, you should just know that we were calling the names of the divine protectresses. These are female divine forces who are protecting divine male forces. In the Kemetic tradition, we don't believe that the divine force is only male. How could that happen? How could you bring forth the rest of the world if you just have male energy? Sometimes when I say that to people and they go, why not? I say, I need to ask your mom. Because clearly you must have the divine feminine in order to bring it. The divine feminine and the divine masculine must merge to create the divine. And in fact, in the Kemetic tradition, the divine feminine is equal and sometimes even more important than the divine masculine. That is how important this is. That is how important it is. So we said the name of these protectresses, and each of the names of the protectors, the male protectors, all of them correspond to the different cardinal points: north, west, east, and south. And as we call their names, we remember that the portions of our body are divine. The portions of our body are actually portions of the universe. That in fact, we are divine beings on a physical journey. That we are the divine, trying to remember just how connected we are to the entire universe. And that means we have all of the powers and responsibilities of the divine. That is how important this is. And so if you're remembering that you are divine, you're not going to just walk out to work and say, oh my goodness, I missed the bus. It destroys my day. I'm going to sit on the curb and cry. Because you're powerful. You are infinitely powerful. We just have to remember who we are. And so that is the fundamental principle of the Kemetic tradition. And it's also why we must always say that each of us is divine. In the Kemetic tradition, you're not, if you're really the Kemetic tradition, you're not going to hear a leader. In this instance, that this might be me or Waziri saying, I'm all knowing, I'm all powerful. Come to me and I'll tell you what you have to do. Give me all your money. And I'm going to tell you what to. That's not how we get down. Because in the Kemetic tradition, what we are fundamentally trying to say is that we are all divine. I am not more divine as the chief priest than someone who just walks over and sees our gathering, who has never focused on the call to higher power. You should simply assume that I might have been working a little longer so I can be the divine servant. That is what Heru means, divine servant. So I can help you on your journey. My journey's not more important than yours. I'm not in a special seat when everybody else is in coach. It does not work that way. We are all divine. And so on a day like the vernal equinox, we should remember that there is this thing called Mahan. It is the very order of the universe. In fact, imagine that that is the tradition of ancient Kemet, and it is personified not by a strong dude, but by a beautiful woman with a feather on her head. That is how important the divine feminine is. That when they thought to describe, to inculcate, to codify the most important thinking, they said, it's a woman. That's how important this is. And the traditions of Ma'at are thousands of years older than those of the Abrahamic tradition. And so there may not be a large group of us here today, but does it need to be? What we are doing is remembering what we did when we were on the top of the world. And I'm going to say to you, it is that memory that will return us to the forefront of human civilization. Not because we seek to get revenge. By the way, I would understand getting revenge. I really would. Sometimes I see some stuff, I'm like, they do for something. They do for something. I just know that's just not how we get down. As frustrating as it makes me, that's not how we get down. Because we believe that as the oldest people on the planet, as the people who first recognized that we were connected to all of this celestial drama, the entire universe, that it is our role to maintain the order of the universe. And that is why sometimes it's frustrating when you see black folk even being persecuted and they say, we have to have love. You're like, love? Could you swing? Just take a few swings. But there's a reason why we're like that. We've always been like that. Because we know that there are important things that we must do. And so that is what we are seeing when we look at the way that people of African descent behave. And so I must say to you that on this day, I ask you, what do you have to make right? What in your life is out of balance? We were supposed to be thinking about this and working on it. You know the equinox happened at 2:19 p.m., right? 2:19 p.m. I looked at the clock, I said, oh, I almost missed it. 2:19 p.m. is when the equinox occurred. Equal light and equal darkness. And we only have 2 equinoxes in the entire year. The other 2 are solstices. These are the times of the year that the sun appears to do something unusual, unique during our year. And so we recognize that the sun, as a symbol of the divine, is telling us something about how to be. So on a day when things are equal, what are you out of balance on? You don't have to tell me or tell these people, but you need to think about it. Is it your diet? Have you just gone out of control with what you're eating? Uh-oh, I hear some laughs. Somebody's like, he calling me out? Why he calling me? Why he got to pick on me? I'm picking on myself, too. I had breakfast this morning, and my mother appeared out of nowhere like this. Because I'm the one that told her about how we should eat. She knew that what I was eating was not in divine balance. She knew. So my diet needs to be placed back in divine balance. How about relationships? Is there someone that you have transgressed upon? Or someone that has transgressed upon you? Our tradition is so important when we look at the laws of bonds and it says, I have not caused one to shed a tear. That's one of the laws. I have not caused one to shed a tear. He didn't say, I was wrong, I messed somebody up. That's in there too, buddy. But it said, I have not caused one to shed a tear. Might you say something that is right and still cause someone to shed a tear? How do you respond when they shed a tear? Do you go, well, they should have known? Or are you going to restore my heart and say, I thought that what I said you needed to hear, but I want to check on you and see how you feel. I need to restore my heart. That's how far these laws, these negative confessions go. You can't even have someone cry and not try to restore my heart. So all of you, I want you to think for a moment about what you need to restore. What are you out of balance on? This is the day to think about it. And this is the day to make your commitment to rectify it. And in our tradition, in the traditions of ancient Africa, we called that quest for balance what? What do we call it? Seruj Ma'at. Seruj Ma'at. Restore balance. Restore balance. It's so important to do that. Any thoughts, any things that you all are thinking about what this day might mean to you? Unusual to stand in the middle of Central Park at 7 p.m. when it's getting dark for a celebration? For some of you, it must be unusual, right? Yes?
Yeah. First time.
First time, yeah. I want you to know that sometimes it takes doing something unusual to set things back in order, right? Sometimes what you've been doing is not working, right?
Yep.
You know what they say, do what you've always done and get what you've always got. Sometimes we all have to know that sometimes what we get is not what we want. But then we keep doing the same thing. So maybe this is the day that we think about Sidruj Mahat. We think about restoring divine balance. So I'd like for you all to think of 3 things. You don't have to tell it to me. I am not the Catholic priest listening to all your secrets. That's not how this works. You are a divine being. Think of 3 things you need to restore Ma'at about. And if it's actually talking to someone, maybe you should just call them and say, I have to restore balance with you. This is a good day to do that. I have to restore balance with you and have a conversation. Sometimes people say to me, what if that person I need to restore balance with is an ancestor? Too late? In our tradition, in all of the African traditions, we have always argued that death does not destroy. And so perhaps this is a good time to write a letter to that ancestor, to do some altar work with that ancestor, to speak to that ancestor and say, we need to restore balance. And if you feel like it's an ancestor that's transgressed against you, I always think that it's great to write a letter, to put it in a sacred space. Usually I leave it for 7 days. By the way, it's 7 days because not because seven is a great number, although that's a good reason to do that, but also because sometimes I go back and add some more. Oh, I forgot something. At the end of 7 days, I burn it. I allow it to be released. I allow it to be released. Because you may know that restoring balance is actually more for you in many ways than it is for them. Because your heart, should be like it. So, today on the vernal equinox, I'd like for you to think of three things that you should be restoring balance. And as you do that, the final thing I want you to do is think about Baaba Heru. Think about how he's touched so many lives. I heard from so many people, I wish I had finally gotten a chance to meet him. He was one of those folks, boy, I'm telling you. If you had a chance to spend time with him, you would sometimes be in awe if you knew exactly how important he was to our community. You'd be in awe walking in there. You would think that he was going to read you the riot act or actually tell you what you had to do. The first thing you want to do is just know who you were. He had this long conversation about who you were. Just two people having a conversation. And in some place in there, this is how it used to be for me, especially in the beginning, you would realize you should have been writing your conversation down. He would say something, you'd be like, He say something else, you'd be like, wow. Then by the third time, you're like, wait, I didn't get the first two. Can you say that again? Because he, in his way, was able in such a humble way to provide guidance. And that's what he did. Thankfully, a lot of times when he was talking, I was recording. And I'm back. I'm all up in the videos. I have a video of me just talking to him. He was carving wax and he was saying something, and I was like, that's pretty profound, Baaba. He said, what's profound? I said, what you just said. He said, oh, so then maybe you should write it down. And I was like, you'll literally, when I play the video, you'll actually hear him say that. Telling me about how to deal with my parents who were still struggling with the fact that I was not in the same spiritual tradition I was raised. The wisdom that he imparted, the person who he was for decades, steadfast, upholding African tradition when a weaker person would have just, I don't know, done something simpler. Done something simpler. That's who he was. That's who he was. So important that I know that as I became an initiate of his in 1997, 1998, and I started wearing certain clothing, I'd be around and they would say, they would look at you and say, I've seen him and I've spoken to him. Do you know him? And you'd have to talk to them about what you were doing. And that was how Baaba had touched people all over, touched people wherever they were, wherever you interacted with him, he would have conversation. I'd meet him and go to dinner and he'd be talking to people. I'd be like, oh, wait, I didn't know that you brought other people to dinner. He'd be like, oh, no, these are just people at the restaurant. In deep conversation. And it wasn't like they didn't want to talk to him. His way allowed him to talk to anyone. That's who he was. That's who my Baaba was. And so I have to remember that when he finishes his journey, he's going to have a lot to say. I'm expecting on the 40th day, he's going to say something. And I hope it's to me. Because I am aching to hear. So, are there things that you want to share about where we are, what you're thinking about the vernal equinox, Baaba Heru, anything? Don't let me just stand up here and talk the whole time. So, you want to share anything? Please.
So, Baaba Heru was very important to me. Jabari can contest. I've been to his shop many a times. And the way he used to educate us and really implore us to do what the divine has called for us to do is very, very important. Even when I was having doubts on certain things, he would say, "There is no doubt. Just do it. And the ancestors will guide you along the way." And Bob will always let me know, "Well, you did it wrong. You need to call on this Heru and call on this Neteru in order to bring you back." And it always worked itself out along the way. Bob was very good at, as Brother Jabari said, reading people.
Mm-hmm.
And as he said, once you go in there, you tell them your story, you tell them what it is that you're trying to achieve in life and the things that you want to do in life, he can pretty much guide you in that direction as a spiritual father should. And that's what Baba really meant a lot to me, is that he put me on a proper path, a proper direction to actually be guided in a righteous path, to where I was lost in a lot of things because of his experience, his education, especially me being in law enforcement and him being in law enforcement, he guided me through that as well. He was very instrumental in my now growing in life and now also growing with others. And that's the important thing that I'm going to miss about the world. When I saw him march, on the march, he was in good spirits, but you could tell he was swayed in a lot of things. The main concern was where the culture was going. Even though people were aware, they weren't awakened. In some respects, or in some regards, that's what he charged us with. He charged us with that knowledge. So he had did what he could. He wanted to do more. That's what I felt. But he felt that it's now up to us. He's given us 50 something years of information. It's there. And now we have to take what he brought to the culture and to us and expand it. So that's what
Wow. Awesome. Does anyone else want to share anything?
I would say, I never met him, but I did the Sacred Woman program. And you mentioned earlier that people were saying they wish that they had. But I feel like I could.
That's right.
Like you and through Fua and through all of his teachings, I feel like I met him. I feel like I got an opportunity to see what he represented and what his culture really is without even meeting him. So we will continue to meet him and carrying on his legacy. Now bring his teaching about this.
That's right. Yes. And that's absolutely correct. There are people who didn't necessarily have a chance to sit down and have a personal conversation. But he was just so ever present in the African traditions, in the Kemetic tradition, that you knew people who were holding the ideals that he expressed to them along. And so you knew him that way. And so don't feel saddened if you never had a chance to, share some broccoli with you. Don't feel saddened. Know that he is not gone. He's on a journey. When he's complete, he's going to speak. So be prepared to speak to him. Death does not destroy us. In order for our ancestors to continue to live, we have to continue to say their name, try to complete their unfinished work, try to celebrate their legacy, and to physically feed them too, which means I have to get some mangoes. Didn't bring mangoes here, Mama. I'm sorry. I promise I will have some. But definitely, those are things that he would have wanted.
Another thing to understand, when you think about Baba Ru, you always look to the fact, when you talk about Saru Jumai. So, and the fact that when you think about the being an uncle,
Mm-hmm.
so much he is the one that we look up to be the maintenance of this tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So we go forth to understand in the Kemetic tradition and in every African tradition, we think of Baba, and Baba was always there for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the jewelry, I'm blessed to have my wedding ring for me. So I'm thankful for what Baba did. He called it
Joy Ari.
joy average.
To make happy, to make joy. Yes.
So
Yeah.
and then his brother just recently passed, right?
Yes. Baba Power made his transition earlier. So they'll be together again. And that is an amazing thing. They're eating some salad. They're eating salad. Um, I, can we sing? I'm going to keep it simple. Some of y'all are like, well, what you want to sing? You know what I mean? Let's just, one of the most important readings in ancient Kemet was just like, it's the thing that you would greet people with. Uh, it, in some traditions, some Kemetic communities have gotten to the point where they just say aus, like an abbreviation.
Aus.
And that's Ankh, Uja, Seneb, right? So if you've heard them, you don't know what they're saying. That's what they've abbreviated it, right? But it is just a magnificent thing that our ancestors continue to share with each other. And it is so appropriate as we stand here remembering that an Asar is about to be enthroned. Maybe we can just simply say Ankh. So I usually just say like this. Here's the tool. It's very simple. Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene. Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene. Hope you're singing at home. Puja Sene, Puja Sene, Puja Sene. Puja Sene, 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 Puja Sene. I've heard Baaba sing that so many times. He would sing the complex ones too, right? But sometimes he would just do the So I know he's smiling because we remember Baaba. We not just remember the traditions of ancestors from 5 and 6 and 7,000 years ago, but we remember your legacy. With that, I want to give you a final affirmation. Maybe something simple. We could say the Amasu. Yes. You want to say it? Amasu and Pa Enter. Sauksu Emet Ra and Pa Enter. Autu Audra Maketi Pa Herura. That means give yourself for the one most high. Keep yourself daily for the divine. And do it tomorrow just as you did it today. And we would say Twanter. Thank you to the divine. And thank you to all of you. Thanks for coming, folks. And thanks for those of you at home as well. We'll see you all soon. And for those of you who are asking when we're going to do something more for Baba Heru, just stay tuned, okay? We're going to have a large celebration of the legacy of Baba Heru. It's just going to be a few weeks. And for those of you at home, it's a little dark. It got dark quick. It's the equinox. You can clearly see our altar for Baba Heru right here at the base of the Tekken. Right at the base of the Tekken. Shemin Ma'at, go forth in divine balance.